And we go live.
Okay. Half a day, everybody. We're live. I'm calling this meeting of June 6, 2022 at 12:02 to order.
Zoom.
And we will begin with a roll call, right? Vice Commissioner Guzman, I believe, is unable to join us today.
I'm here.
Oh, are you? Okay, there you are. Sorry. All right, okay, thank you. Commissioner Shizaki,
Right here.
okay, thank you much. Commissioner Delia.
Here.
Can we turn
Commissioner
this?
Santos.
Right. This is the camera.
Cameras there? Oh,
Right,
yeah, yeah.
there you are. I see you. Okay, Commissioner Sanchez is there. Commissioner Rice
Here.
is there, and Commissioner Corpus. There you are. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I stick everybody. I got everybody now. All right. So all the members are here. We have a quorum for the meeting.
We have Nate in the room also, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman.
Chairman, I'm
Yes.
present.
Thank you. So we're all present and accounted for. Thank you. We have a quorum. Okay, moving on to item number 2, board meeting public announcements. The first printing is on Friday, May 27th, and the second printing is on Saturday, June 4th. Can I just get a verification on that? I believe all is in order. Yep. Okay. So we're all in order with regard to the public meeting announcements. Now on to the approval.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes.
may,
Sure.
according to the attachment, the second printing. Wait, hold on. Oh, no, okay, sorry, my bad,
Okay,
discard.
no worries. Thank you very much. Now let's move on to the approval of the previous board minutes of April 8th. When ready, may we get a motion to approve?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Second that motion.
Second by Commissioner Suzaki, right? Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Right. Hearing none. Right.
Madam Chairman.
Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carries unanimously. The approval of the minutes. Okay. And so now we have on to new business, resolution number FY 22-009. Madam Director, is that you?
Yes, Ms. Kim, are you
You're not on mute, so. Okay, I guess it's me. Miss Kim is not on mute. I thought she was gonna do it. But anyways, resolution number FY 2022 -009 is the resolution approving above step recruitment for the general accounting supervisor position for the RP&E division. Whereas under the enabling legislation of the authority, Title 12, 5103 GCA, its Board of Commissioners is empowered to employ officers, technical experts, agents, and employees, permanent and temporary, as it may deem necessary, and shall determine their qualifications, duties, tenure, and compensation. And whereas Title 4 of the Guam Code annotated, the appointing authority or the head of an agency, department, or public corporation listed in 4 GCA 4105A may petition the Director of Administration, the Judicial Council, in quotes, as to judicial branch employment, or the agency, department, or public corporation's governing board or commission, in quotes, as to an agency, department, or public corporation listed in 4 GCA 4105A, for recruitment at a higher step not to exceed step 10 because of documented difficulty or exceptional qualifications. And whereas Mr. Jericho C. Garcia submitted his request to executive management requesting to petition the GHURA Board of Commissioners for an above the minimum step recruitment for the position of general accounting supervisor based on exceptional qualification. And whereas the board has previously approved above step recruitment for Mr. Garcia. However, Mr. Garcia was not able to complete his probationary periods as subsequent critical vacancies arose with the accountant 3 and now with the untimely passing of the former general accounting supervisor. And whereas Mr. Garcia's exceptional qualifications for the general accounting supervisor position consists of the following: certified public accountant, August 2020, certificate number 5064. Undergraduate degree, bachelor's in business administration and accounting, University of Guam, conferred May 2019. Graduated with honors, magna cum laude. Master's of Science in Accounting, MSA, acquired 24 semester hours. Over 1 year and 2 months of auditing with Deloitte and Touche as an associate 1, working with over 15 company accounts. U.S. Army active duty, 3 years as an E4, but performing E6 work, responsible for the unit's accounting operations, budgeting, and fiscal records. Possesses internal auditing skills that will help minimize the authority's audit findings. In just the past 6 months of Mr. Garcia's at the accountant 3 level, he implemented new processes to increase efficiency and effectiveness in the fiscal division, thus saving substantial number of hours to focus on other tasks. He played an integral role with the 2020 audit being submitted in time. He performed 88 bank reconciliations to help GHURA become current in their monthly reconciliation process. Mr. Garcia has no doubt elevated the level of efficiency and effectiveness of the fiscal division. Whereas, in addition to the exceptional qualifications that Mr. Garcia possesses, there was recruitment difficulty with this position. And whereas management believes the compensation package of salary and benefits, in example, retirement, holidays, annual and sick leave, etc., is competitive with the private sector, considering the immense level of responsibility the general accounting supervisor carries for the RP&E division, now respectfully requests an above step recruitment of Mr. Jericho C. Garcia, PG 4-8E at $76,401 per annum, $36.73 per hour. And whereas the GHURA board recognizes it has the discretionary authority to go below or beyond management's recommendations, in example, PG 4-1B, $48,875 per annum, or $23.50 per hour, through PG 4-10F, $85,844 per annum, $41.27 per hour maximum, but supports management's request for the above step recruitment. Whereas funding for this position is available from RP&E funds, and be it further resolved that in consideration of the applicant's exceptional qualifications and recruitment difficulty with this position, the GURA Board of Commissioners grants the above step recruitment for Mr. Jericho Garcia, PG 4-8E at $76,401 per annum, or $36.73 per hour. And if I may, I really would like to, I highly recommend that the GURA board approve this above step request, because I have observed how Jericho has really contributed to the efficiency and accuracy of the fiscal department, especially in lieu of we do have one staff who is on leave, and he's really helped out a lot. And he worked very closely with the prior general accountant who we lost. And so I am highly recommending your approval of this above step recruitment request for Mr. Garcia. If you have any questions, I do have Kim Berseman here with me. Sorry, technical difficulties.
So I have a question, Kim. So recently you were going to do a pay adjustment, right? So what's happened to that, and is that not adequate for this employee's needs?
Like we said, sir, when we visited this topic back in December, it brought us closer, but we knew that for critical positions, it would still be way below. And so we knew that for engineers, accountants, especially supervisory positions and above, we would have to come before the board with the above step recruitment on a case-by-case basis. So the job is in fact big. I have the technical staff on hand, the acting controller who can elaborate more on the technical side. So the 76 is fair in terms of what is expected of this new position, and Jericho stepping into big shoes. I understand that it's similar to somewhat of a deputy controller, if not a controller at best. And so we were able to negotiate. Of course, we don't want to give away the full store, but we found that this was fair considering. So what we did with the pay adjustments in December did help, but when you have recruitment difficulty and exceptional qualifications, we had to go in and negotiate. And so this is where we're at now. We feel that he has the potential to be our succession plan moving forward, especially with his number of years. He just started with us 2 to 3 years. We expect to have him at least 10 to 15 years to carry on that institutional knowledge that he's picking up so fast. And so we respectfully request, based on recruitment difficulty and his exceptional qualifications, for the board support for the pay grade G4-8E, step 8E at $76,401.
I have a question, and
Yes,
this is for Kim. In the fourth whereas, you mentioned here that he was not able to complete his probationary period. Can you explain that?
Yeah, you have a situation where Jericho's in the right place at the right time with higher level positions opening up. We were able to steal him away at an accountant 2 level, and you approve the above step, but in that course of the 6-month period, an accountant 3, we lost him to the federal sector. And so that he couldn't complete it, so you restart the process. And then with the sudden passing of the higher level supervisor, it posed another opportunity, and that one was really hard to fill. I only had 2 candidates, and I ran this announcement for at least 4 to 6 weeks almost, and I only netted 2. And so it's a very difficult position to recruit for. So those 2 elements alone are the basis for the above step recruitment. Yeah, so on the technical side, I have Miss Kathy or Miss Francis who can elaborate more. And this is a big job coming from that side of the CPD house, RPD house side of things.
Hi, Kim, can you hear me? This is Nate.
Oh, hey, Nate.
I agree with you. Yeah, so I just want to speak on what you were just mentioning. As somebody in the financial world, I absolutely have to concur with you. There's a dearth of individuals that hold the caliber of the quality that he brings to the table, and his resume is quite impressive. But as mentioned, you're right. There is a lack of somebody that holds his credentials, and most of them are not going into the government sector. They want to work for big firms. They want the money, right? And if we can't find somebody to fill this position, considering what our agency has experienced with the untimely loss of our major accountant, and yeah, I absolutely understand from at least from a financial planner's perspective where you're coming from, because you like me, we have bills, we have families, and the government pension, the government salaries is not, it's not the vanguard of one's decision process when applying for positions, especially when someone holds the level of credentials that this gentleman holds. So yeah, I absolutely understand, at least from getting somebody of quality who's willing to work with our agency and consider this as his occupation and career, as opposed to working for the top 5 accounting firms, Deloitte and Ernst Young, et cetera. So yeah, absolutely understand, and thank you for your contributions, Kim, for providing at least the context for the rest of the commissioners.
So I have another question, and this is a follow-up to Commissioner Ishizaki's question about what we passed earlier. So Kim, you were mentioning that it helped somewhat, but are you also saying that there's a potential that we will be seeing more above step recruitment resolutions in the future?
I believe only for
Positions
Madam Commissioner, sorry. Yes, only for those key positions that we have to negotiate if there's recruitment difficulty and exceptional qualification.
Right.
So the only other one I see us doing is for an engineer 3.
Okay.
An engineer, maybe those are really, really hard to find. I mean, for years I've been really trying to recruit for Albert's succession plan, and then luckily Sunny came along. And
Okay.
so, yeah, so those are really limited. We really try to really scrutinize the request, and we're only going to go to the board who are critical and are truly recruitment difficulty.
And,
Okay.
and if I may add too, it's like at the times that we lost like our accountant 3 and Jericho applied for the position of that person we lost, he obviously was able to prove that he was capable of doing that job, taking on that added responsibility at that level. And then when we lost our general accountant supervisor and he again applied for this position, he actually had been working closely with our late Emil, and he really is a fast learner. I guess that's the simplest way I can put it. I don't know, maybe Kathy can and Fran can chime in on the skill set that Jericho has. I've really been very impressed with what he's been able to do.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'll jump in before Francis does because I've had an opportunity to watch the two work together in the year prior to Emil's passing. He has his skill set is impeccable, and his ability to understand and comprehend what we need has come almost seamlessly. Once we've explained the programmatic side of it, he has an ability to communicate with me because I am not an accounting person, and I cherish our good accountants because it doesn't always translate well. But it with Emil and now with Jericho, they get it. The grants management side accounting is different from what we run on the Sinahanya side in our estimation, and that's why we have to maintain this separate section. But we're always cognizant of the fact that this is one agency and the books are one book. For him to be able to walk both sides of that and still make it make sense for both the programmatic and the fiscal side has been it's been absolutely what we need, and we have been struggling since Emil's passing because he is involved in every aspect of what we do, from our ability to work with our subs straight through to what needs to be provided for the audit.
Perfect. Good. Absolutely.
So good afternoon. My name is Frances, and I is pretty much the direct supervisor of Jericho. And the reason why Jericho is kind of able to get promoted when these opportunities come is because he has very good work ethics. His when he doesn't know something or if he doesn't understand something, he goes and he seeks the answers. And once he understands it and he follows our procedures, he also has the ability, while he's doing the task, he's able to see how he can improve it. And then, of course, before he improves it, he would talk to us and we'll kind of like hash it out and everything. And the things that he's brought to the table has improved a lot of our processes that, not that I'm saying that now it's easy, it's smooth and everything, but right now with us missing kind of like two positions, we're able to keep up with at least our daily stuff, and at the same time hack at the other tasks and projects that we still have to address. So Jericho I think to me he will be worth the $76,000 that we would be paying him in compensation. And that's all I have.
2 vacancies.
So he's practically augmenting for the 2 vacancies then.
Well, it's almost like 2 vacancies because he's still doing the accountant 3 and doing the general accounting supervisor. So it's almost like, for me, it's like one person filling 2 positions. So in a way, it's almost like there's 2 vacancies right now for us. And Chairman Nate, as you said, with accounting and financial, it's like nothing ever stops, so you know what I mean? So it's like for him to have the ability to do both, and at the same time training our accountant too, and helping address and improve some of the processes that we have now is to me he really works hard, and I really appreciate him also taking the initiative to help me in a lot of the things that need to go on at the business office side while I take care of the other things that I need to do as the acting controller. and to also do my own position, the task for my own position at the same time too. So yes, I mean, there really isn't two vacancies, but it just feels like it.
It absolutely feels that way, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a very in-depth and very meticulous job. And it's sometimes it feels like a chore. Coming from somebody in the financial world, it's not exactly easy. And it's long hours. And there's very, very little margin for errors or mistakes, especially since clearly we're dealing with federal funds. But yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate everyone's candor in regards to Jericho.
I have a quick question. With regard to his role as it's a supervisory role, could you just really quickly share with me whom he would be supervising from a authority perspective?
His immediate staff consists of an accountant one, on the RP&E side to take care of capital, community planning and development grants, and accountant one to assist with the capital funds program grant, and then an accounting tech that all work with respect to our side of the house. Those are all the programs that are running under the fiscal system that we have set up for the grants management.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Maybe one, Ms. Kim, are we trying to recruit an additional accountant? We seem to still be short of at least one accountant, right?
Yes. In fact, the announcement closed Friday. I had to extend it 2 more weeks. So it really ran for 6 weeks and accountant 3. So I think we have less than a handful that we can work with to get that position filled. So I'm trying to fast track it as fast as I can. Trying to get that best quality, the talent that we're looking that will want to stay long-term for GHURA. It's always about that talent, the best talent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay. Hearing none, I just like to thank the commissioners for the discussion on this, right? I think it's important that that we balance, right, between the abilities to attract the talent and make sure that we are competitive with regard to that. I do hear Commissioner Nate, right, and if you recall recently, even the public auditors having issues trying to find talent with regard to these realms, right? I do know that Jericho's reputation does precede him. I've never worked with him personally, but I have heard of him, from my position here at the University of Guam. He kind of made waves here because he was one of the first, if I'm not mistaken, if I get this right, he was one of the first students that we've had to pass the CPA exam before he even graduated with his degree. So he's talent definitely is there, right, in capacity. And not only is he a CPA, but he's also a CGFM. And so, Kim, as you were saying, right, hopefully that he sees a career with GHURA and that he makes the decision to stay with us long term and then grow the next generation of talent and pass on those skill sets, right, to the next generation. But, having said that, I do appreciate the candor of the group also in asking the tough questions with regard to the floodgates for reopening with regard to above step hires, right? Okay, any other discussion on the issue? If not, may I get a motion for resolution number FY 2022, sorry, -009. A resolution approving the above step recruitment for Jericho C. Garcia, General Accountant Supervisor.
So, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve above step recruitment for general accounting supervisory position for Mr. Jericho C. Garcia for resolution number FY 2022-009.
Thank you, Commissioner Sasaki. May I get a second?
Second that, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Nate. Any other further discussions on the issue? Okay, hearing none, may I call for a vote for the motion on the floor? All in favor, say aye.
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 Right, any opposed?
Aye. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, any opposed? Okay, hearing none, right? Motion passes, resolution FY 2022-009 with unanimous decision, right? Thank you very much, commissioners. Congratulations, Jericho. We look forward to your long tenure at GHURA. Please put that on the record.
Chairman Rivera,
Yes,
if I may, we have Dan Fitzgerald from Deloitte and Touche, and I know we have him. I asked him to come in too soon, I guess. I know we don't have him until towards the end of our agenda, but is it possible for us to have him do his audit, a very brief audit report for your sakes? Is that okay? Can I jump him up in the agenda?
that's item number 4, right?
Yeah, he's,
Six.
no, he's actually on item number
6.
6.
Okay. I don't have any issues, right? Does any other commissioner have any problems moving Mr. Fitzgerald from on the agenda?
So,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we rearrange the agenda to entertain Mr. Fitzgerald.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner. May I get a second?
and if I may introduce him again, he's Mr. Dan Fitzgerald from the auditing firm of Deloitte and Touche. And the firm conducted our FY 2021 audit, which was completed and released by the Office of Public Accountability. I asked if he would present a final brief of the audit to the board, as it was a pretty big packet. And you all have hard copies for you whenever you're ready.
If I could, just 1 second. So there's a motion to move up the agenda, right? By
Monica.
Monica.
right, by Vice Chair. Do I get a second on the motion?
Second.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion?
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Hearing none, we will amend the agenda to move up Mr. Fitzgerald. Thank you very much, Director Napoli, for that introduction. Mr. Fitzgerald, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I think I came in at the right time, because if you look at Guam and financial accountability, and if you look at the US, your situation, as you were just discussing, is not unique. It pertains to basically almost every entity in Guam, and it pertains to most entities in the US as well. And this is that there just aren't enough accounting people. And those that are frequently moving and job hopping. This is occurring at the federal government level, and we'll get into that in a moment. It's happening in every private corporation. It's happening across Guam and in the region. And this is because a lot of people are leaving. And that means that the prices associated with accountants are being bid up substantially. In many cases, I've seen up to a 50% increase. If you have experience, if you have 2 years of experience, you can basically name your price in today's market. I think it was right before the pandemic, Guam hosted a PIPA, Association of Pacific Island Public Auditors, and myself and one other person hosted a presentation on the significant challenges impacting financial management within this region, not just Guam, but CNMI, Palau, the FSM, the Marshals. We said it's 2 things. One is you have a need for financial accountability and not enough accountants. And 2, you have an awful lot of senior people who are getting ready to retire and you don't have replacements for them. So in your situation, this audit, you have to understand, many people think an audit is just dealing with the controller and dealing with the financial statements. You are a very different animal. About 70% of your audit is really an audit of compliance with HUD requirements. It is not an audit of the financial statements. Your financial statements are pretty straightforward. The only other two organizations that almost rival you are Guam Department of Education, of which about 60% is federal compliance, and only 40% is the financial statements. The University of Guam, because University of Guam has more federal programs than does the government of Guam. So again, you have around 50% of University of Guam's audit is federal programs and 50% is the financial statements. So you have 70% of your audit is really not of the financial statements. It's not dealing with the controller, et cetera. It's really dealing with all of the requirements imposed by HUD, because you are a bifurcated entity. You have loyalties to two different organizations as a member of the board. You're appointed by the government of Guam to serve GHURA, and GHURA is, because of the nature of your board, you are a component unit of the government of Guam. So you have an obligation to the government of Guam. But all your funding comes from HUD, which means HUD basically dictates as well. And so it's an interesting balance. And this balance is actually reflected in the financial statements, because your financial statements, as I said, are fairly straightforward. All the work is really on the compliance side, dealing with HUD. And for the record, HUD is probably one of the most detailed, has basically more detail and more requirements than does any other federal agency. They are much more, should we say, structured. And this is because they went through an awful lot a number of years ago and got beaten up by the US Congress a lot. And therefore, they added an awful lot of compliance requirements to their mix, because you all know how much fun it is to go to a legislative body and walk away without your head. And that's what happened to HUD. So therefore, HUD has imposed these requirements, and your audit is really of that compliance. So let's go back to December last year. GHURA had presented its plan to get the audit done by February 28th, and we were on track. We were moving forward. And then all of a sudden, December, you lost two key people. It was not a retention issue. Unfortunately, they departed this life and moved on to their next life. And those two people were basically responsible for 50%, accounting for and substantial management of 50% of your revenues. Understand? They had their own systems. They had standalone systems that they had developed over 20 years in order to manage all of that. They were what we call integral to your operations. And this was unexpected, very unexpected based on their age, et cetera. All of a sudden you lost them. What transpired? Well, existing personnel had to step in, which compounded the timing, because they had to do their own responsibilities, maintain the relationships with HUD requirements, et cetera. And at the same time, they had to pick up that slack and learn that side of the system, which was not an easy task at all, which caused delays. Because yes, you can hire new people, but I hate to tell you, finding experienced people to join you is an art right now, because everybody's looking for them and nobody is finding them, which means their prices for them are being bid up dramatically. The same situation is true in the United States. There's a lot of turnover. Your financial case manager is turned over several times in Washington, D.C. And each time they go back to the events of several years ago when your financial statements were materially misstated, and we restated those. We proposed to restate those financial statements. So every time a case manager changes, they go back to that restatement and need to understand it, because it impacts other entities. And therefore, if they are new to that position and don't have a history with you, it further delays it. So you also happen to lose your executive director. I mean, you had a very unlucky year, and through no fault of your own, and that caused the delays. So we were on track, if everybody had remained the same, to finalize this audit by February 28th, but we could not overcome the loss of these people. Additionally, we could not overcome the change in Washington of your financial case manager, because one of the compliance requirements associated with your with HUD is you have to upload your financial statements after approval by HUD. And the new case manager had a lot of questions and a lot of questions with respect to several years ago when your restatement transpired. And I think you're still dealing with that issue, even after all this time. And it's due to newness of people on the other side. It's not just you, it's throughout the United States. There aren't enough accountants, there aren't enough trained people, and therefore you're bringing in new people. And we do that all the time. We hire new people, and until they've been with us for a year, it's much more investment and training for these people than it is an actual performance by these people. I hope you understand that when you hire a new person, they have to learn the organization. You know, they may have a theoretical understanding when they graduate, but that's totally different than actually practicing on real accounting issues. You have a theoretical understanding, but you don't have the practical understanding. It's a learned art. And when one walks into an organization such as GHURA, one has to learn the federal requirements. One has to learn the unique accounting exercised by GHURA, which is not an easy task. So you were basically on track to complete this audit. We thought you would be low risk at the end of this audit because you worked very hard to achieve that. You were not able to achieve that solely because you had a new case manager in Washington. That person is still dealing with you with respect to the upload of the prior year financial statements. And unfortunately, that is a HUD imposed requirement that is material and we can't overcome. That separates you, that one item separates you from being low risk. And in December, it looked like you were going to achieve this. Then they changed your case manager and then you lost your people. But the actuality is the federal government says your audit is not due until June 30. So, you know, you were fine with respect to your timing, but you could not overcome the change in HUD personnel in Washington, D.C. Otherwise, you'd be low risk. Your people have worked with us over the last several years and have accomplished an awful lot. GHURA team speaks with us. They deal a great deal with our compliance people to make sure these issues are being addressed. Quite frankly, Liz has been fantastic to deal with, as was Ray. They were very open. They explained the challenges, et cetera, and we talked it out. Quite frankly, we had sincerely hoped that you would be classified as low risk. That was the goal last year. That was the goal you worked forward to. And the reason you did not become low risk is solely because of this change out in Washington. So irrespective of the manner in which this is portrayed, you guys have really come a very long way. You redid your financial statements. You've really worked hard on achieving the major compliance issues. You consult with your auditors, which is what you're supposed to do. You look at this, but please understand, you know, when you undergo an audit, your audit is not like a retail entity or a hotel, which is all about the financial statements. Your audit is about compliance with all of the myriad rules and regulations of HUD. And that takes a lot. And those requirements are interwoven with the financial statements. So when we break it out, 70% of your audit is compliance, about 30% is the financial statements. So your financial statements are fine. It's getting them past HUD, who still doesn't quite, you know, who's still dealing with the fact that your financial statements for a number of years were incorrect. So you've come a very long way. I think, and what I talk with a lot of different people, and what I say is, if it's this difficult to retain people right now, go 2 years forward. When the military moves here and the hotels reopen, are you going to get all the accountants to deal with everything when everybody's already left? It's just, you know, the personnel issues are coming fast and furious and are going to be even more challenging because right now the hotels have dropped people. A lot of people have downsized. You have a bifurcated economy. You have those dealing with the military, can't get enough people. And you have everybody else who deals with tourism, who is basically kind of trying to hang on by their fingertips. As soon as that turns around, as soon as tourism comes back, as soon as Japan gets over its aversion to travel, which is probably 2 years, and as soon as this gets back, and as soon as those military people show up and start demanding local services, where are you going to find all the people to work here? So I really appreciated the opportunity to listen to you talk about retention, because I guarantee you, when I talk with people, whether it's construction, whether it's respect to providing service to the military, that's the #1 issue anywhere, including the US, because you cannot retain people. There aren't enough qualified people. And we'll see what happens to the US if a depression really starts. And the cost of living is even more difficult because you can give people salary increases like you've seen in the US, but net of inflation, it's actually a decrease. So this challenge for the board is going to be nonstop, and it's going to continue because I listened, I appreciate the fact that you're going to take care of Jericho. He worked with us and I really wish him well, but he's going to have an awful lot of opportunities. And I'm seeing it every day. People are bidding up the wage scale for people who have any kind of experience because so many people are still leaving. You see this at DOA, you see this in the entities, you see this at across GovGuam, but you also see it in so many private industries. You see it in our office. You can talk to Ernst & Young. Retention is their biggest issue. Finding people who are qualified is their biggest issue. So it's not just you, it's not just OPA, it is endemic to this region, and it's also endemic to the US right now. So I believe that what you were talking about is the substantial challenge, because had you had HUD not changed out their desk officer in charge of Guam and Washington, you probably would have been low risk. But retaining people, especially with what you went through this last year, you went through a lot. Your people, I'm sure, are suffering burnout. They were wearing so many hats. I'm not sure there are enough hats in Guam in order to be able to satisfy all the requirements they went through, because when you lose people like that who have been with you for so long and so instrumental to your operation, it's not an easy fix. You don't just find somebody off the street to do that. There's a very long, involved learning curve in order to be able to make that work. And that's the challenge, is retention. I don't care where you go in Guam, that's going to be the #1 challenge. Yes, we understand we all have to get through the current year political situation, but from a long-term standpoint, the reality is there aren't enough people. And, Mr. Rivera, I told you this the last time we met. This is I've talked with University of Guam for the last 20 years. You guys have put more money into the accounting programs. We really appreciate it. But unfortunately, they just aren't graduating enough to be able to satisfy the requirements, because it's not filling the void of those people who have packed up and left. And there's still people who are packing up and leaving. And guess what? There aren't enough people on the other side as well, where they're going. So this is going to be your challenge, and this is people retention. Everybody here, you're reading about $10 a gallon gas. Food costs, etc. Cost of living is getting very high everywhere, which is necessitating increases. And you read about the salary increases that people are getting, and it's not enough to meet inflation. So this is going to be a challenge. We're on a ride, and quite frankly, as a board, this is probably going to be, other than dealing with HUD and their requirements and GovGuam and their requirements, which are often not in sync, if you understand, people retention and being able to satisfy the requirements, because quite frankly, what we see is an explosion of requirements imposed locally and in the federal government. And as the federal government's financial position may change, because if interest rates go up, that's going to impact the US federal government more than anybody, because they borrow all their money. It's going to have a defined impact on the federal government, their ability to continue to appropriate, which means they're going to usually impose even more requirements on the use of the funds in order to be able to justify to Congress the ongoing need in order to be able to assist you. Okay, that's the way this works. So I'll be happy to answer questions. I don't envy you as a board. I don't envy myself, because quite frankly, I spend an inordinate amount of time trying to keep people, trying to find people, or trying to find people for other organizations. And it is a real challenge. And I don't see it ending anytime soon. So thank you very much for your time. If you have questions, I'll be happy to respond. But GHURA has done an awful lot to move forward, and they have been a pleasure to work with. And quite frankly, we thought this audit was going to be of clockwork. But unfortunately, due to the passing of 3 very key people, it turned into a clockwork orange instead of a clockwork audit. So.
So Dennis, Shizaki, so I'm trying to decipher all of this, and there's a lot to look through. So do we have any problems, issues, or deficiencies that you need to just kind of give us bullet points?
The only deficiency that you were not able to counter, and you know, the reality is in any audit, I don't care, you come and audit us, you're going to find something. The question is the impact of that and the materiality of it. Okay, is it a big issue? Is it a small issue? The only issue of any size that you were not able to overcome in the audit process is getting your financial statements uploaded to HUD, because they have a lot of questions. And your people worked on this nonstop, and it's not easy because those people in Washington have a lot of things to do as well, and only so much time. And your financial statements several years ago, when we talked to you about the restatement, represented an anomaly. And federal agencies, large entities, are not good at dealing with anomalies. They just don't deal with it. So quite frankly, as I said, that's the only issue, and that's out of your control. That's controlled by Washington. If you had basically been allowed to upload your financial statements by HUD, you would have achieved a low risk status. I hope you understand that, because this is out of your control. You did everything you were supposed to do to be able to achieve a low risk status. But unfortunately, HUD had many questions, and they only had a certain amount of time available, and they didn't quite understand, and you're working this through with them, but it's taken a very, 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 very long time. Otherwise, you would have been classified as low risk. I hope you understand that, because you've come a very long way.
And
Hi, Dan, thank you for that. I'm sorry, Director, go ahead.
no, and if I may, our Deputy Controller Francis Daniele is listening. I really just want to say that we did communicate to Jesse Wu in Hawaii the action plan for getting those financials uploaded, and Ms. Daniele has really worked hard, and she's just about finished with her communications with HUD to do the FY 2019. And as soon as that goes through, then the other 2 should be fun, be easier to upload. So there is an action plan. It's being worked on, and hopefully it'll be done before the end of this month, unless she has more roadblocks from HUD. But it's really uploading it that's been the challenge, because as Dan said, they have a lot of questions, because sometimes they look at things differently than anyone else would. I don't know if Fran wants to add to that, but I really appreciate all the work that she's been doing, minus our controller, to get this done.
And if you look at it, quite frankly, Francis had to pick up the work of those people who unfortunately departed. And if you were involved in any of the meetings with the public auditor, Francis let the public auditor understand that in no uncertain terms. Didn't really matter as far as he was concerned, but your people had to do double and triple and quadruple duty. So again, unfortunately, because of this situation with HUD, this resets the clock. Last year, you had no material findings. If you had done the same as prior year, you guys would be low risk. Unfortunately, because of the situation with HUD accepting your financial statements, it's going to take you 2 years to get to low risk, because you have to have 2 years without a material finding. So if you are able to get past this hurdle with HUD and you do the same next year as you did this year, you'll be low risk again for the first time. And that's the goal. That was the goal last year. And so you had no control over this. You cannot upload without HUD's permission. So I hope that answers the question, sir. But yeah, there are no material issues. They were all addressed. And quite frankly, this audit would have been done a lot earlier had unfortunately certain very untoward events not transpired, which were beyond anybody's control. That's the reality.
Thank you, Dan. That answered my question. Thank you, Director Liz. Appreciate it.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Oh, okay. Well, hearing none, Mr. Fitzgerald, your reputation also precedes you. I just want to say thank you for the narrative and helping to, articulate and clear that up. I do, as I navigate these waters with GHURA, you're right about the complexities, right? Definitely about the complexities. And I think your analogy about having to serve two masters also is very pointed, right? We have to be able to do that. And sometimes we're at the disadvantage doing that. However, it's still our responsibility. I will say that I would like to say, thank you also to the finance staff. I know that some of that, some of the challenges that they face have persisted on, and the director has been diligently working on that, right, to keep the team intact, but also to do what's best for their health and wellness, right? And so I appreciate that moving forward, and so let it be our goal to make sure that we do earn that in the coming years, right? But thank you very much for that, putting that on the record.
And Mr. Rivera, Mr. Chair, I apologize. Yes, I agree that your finance people went way above and beyond the call of duty, but GHURA, the audit of GHURA is more an audit of the entire organization and all aspects of it than anywhere else on Guam, because all of your people are involved in federal programs. And if there's any weak link anywhere along the line, it's going to hurt. So it's not just the financial statements. It's not just finance people who went above and beyond. It's basically everybody there. And I really appreciate both Ray's and Liz's assistance in getting that message out and having everybody deal with the auditors, because this is an audit of your entire organization, not just your financial statements. This is unlike, I mean, as I said, you only have two. This is unlike GPA or GWA or Port Authority, where you're dealing with the financial statements and you're just dealing with the CFO or controller. You're dealing with your entire organization. So, just to point out, it's everybody who has to make this work. And yes, a lot of this fell upon finance because of the unfortunate events, but it's really everybody in GHURA who has to make this work.
All right. Well said. Thank you very much. Any other questions for Mr. Fitzgerald? Okay. Hearing none, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you very much to all of you. Have a good day.
A good one. Okay. So let's go back to the new business on agenda. I think we're on new business item 4, intent for Ward 2, right?
Yes. Yes. So the intent of award for renovation of 6 public housing units, IFB GHURA -04-14-2022 -amps 1, 3, and 4. The bid opening for the project was held on May 12th at 2:00 p.m. There were a total of 3 contractors that purchased a set of bid specifications, and of which 3 submitted the bid.
Well, I'm sorry, wait, we missed something.
We missed something. We were out. Can you start all over? Where are we?
Okay.
Are we on?
We didn't finish the presentation by Dan, actually.
Yeah, we missed Dan's
Final words.
summary.
Yeah.
Final word.
He's gone now.
I'm sorry, what did you miss?
Everything.
Our recording got, we had some connection difficulties, and
Yeah.
we, the last part we heard was when Mr. Fitzgerald was giving his closing statements, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so we'll reflect it on the minutes, but basically what Mr. Fitzgerald was saying was that, GHURA's audit is not just dealing with just the controller, it's actually dealing with all of the whole organization. And so it's a cumulative effort, and he was just acknowledging the work that it wasn't just one person, that when dealing with our audits, you actually have to deal with everybody. And if there's a weak link, as he said, then it would be felt and impacted throughout the whole audit. And so the reality of us coming out of that with the way that we did is a testament to to the team's effort and not just, the financial team, but really everybody at GHURA and making it, work. And that was in summary, the reflection of his last sentence.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Right.
Mr. Chair. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Right. And so now, going back. So then we picked up with new business, item 4. And we are now on item number 2. And Madam Director, if you could just start again from the beginning with regard to intent to award.
Got it.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The intent of award is for the renovation of 6 public housing units. IFB number GHURA-04-14-2022-AMPS 1, 3, and 4. The bid opening for this project was held on May 12th at 2:00 p.m. There were a total of 3 contractors that purchased the set of bid specifications, of which 3 submitted a bid. And the results are for on number 1, contractor number 1, Genesis Tech Corp. They bid $113,000 for base bid number 1. And base bid number 1 is to renovate a total of 3 units, 2 in Mongmong and 1 in Agate. And then for base bid number 1 as well, I'm going to go down that column. Contractor number 2, Surface Solutions, bid $158,046.53. And the third contractor, OH Construction, bid $134,000 for base bid number 1. So then if we go to base bid number 2, Genesis Tech Corp, contractor number 1, bid $110,600. Contractor number 2, Surface Solutions, bid $130,222.09. And contractor number 3, OH Construction, bid $125,000 for base bid number 2. And the government estimate for base bid number 1 was $124,574.03. And the government estimate for base bid number 2 was $117,446. Now, in the review of the bid results, Genesis Tech Corp provided the lowest responsive and responsible bid for base bid 1 and base bid 2. Genesis Tech Corporation has completed several major GHURA projects over the last year with good standing. They've also been cleared by the Department of Labor Compliance, OSHA, and EPLS DeBartis. And based on the AE staff's review and determination, we are requesting approval to issue the contract to Genesis Tech Corp for base bid number 1 and base bid number 2 for a total amount of $223,600. And funding is available under the Capital Fund program. And I'm sorry, the modernization of the units includes electrical upgrade, replacement of termite infested kitchen cabinets and base, retiling of floors, completing sewer line replacement, interior painting, exterior and interior door replacements, and replacement of existing water lines. The detailed scope of work was included in the bid documents for your review. Sunny is here if anyone has any questions. I believe Sunny's on. Oh, no, he's there in the boardroom, sorry. Right?
Yes, ma'am. I'm in the board.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Director. Commissioners, any questions?
One moment, Mr. Chair. Liz, I'm sorry, this is Commissioner Sanchez. Who is the point of contact for the Genesis Tech Corporation?
Mr. Sunny, are you able to answer that?
No problem, Commissioner. It is a Mr. Kim. I don't remember his first name, though. I'm sorry.
No, is it Young Chun Kim? Is that?
That sounds, yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
Perfect. That's all I needed.
Oh, okay.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Sir.
Thank you, Sonny. Thank you, Director. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Sunny?
Yes, Dr. John.
These modernization, is that a pretty typical recipe for modernization?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The process is usually we get the requests from the asset managed property managers, the AMP managers. From there, the request goes to A&E, where we go we have our facility inspectors go out and review the scopes of work, just to verify the site conditions. And then from there, the scopes of work are prepared and assembled. And of course, we put in our government estimates. Our engineers put together the government estimates before we go out. That's our process. So yes, to answer your question, sir, that is the typical considered for renovation.
I was just kind of curious on a side note, how often do we do sewer line replacement and water line replacements?
Sir, depending on the site location, there are some amps that were built in the 70s. And so the sewer lines are either cast iron or made out of cast iron, and some of them are found to be collapsed. And so that's the reason why we would include them. Otherwise, if there were the newer units, like the ones up in Dedido, the GHURA housing up there, I think 34 near the police station, those are very new. Those we would not put in for sewer line replacements.
Yes, Miss Kathy.
Dr. Rivera, Philly Nicholas is on this call, in this meeting. If it would be okay, I think, Phil, if you would, could you explain some of your experience with that when you were back at AMP 3?
Good afternoon. For the capital fund, as far as the units, being a property site manager for AMP 4 and a former manager for AMP 3, there have been a number of units where we have encountered the sewer lines being rusted out. The only time that we would go in and do the replacement is when the unit is vacant. Otherwise, it'll be inconvenient for the residents if we were to do it while they were still occupying the units.
Understood. Thank you. So moving forward, I guess, just a clarifying question, right? So moving forward, as we start to look at some of these renovations, if possible, that's always in the line side, right? To make sure that these are done in the less impactful way and during the most convenient of times, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners?
If I can just add, I'm living as a resident in 035. It's basically across from the public health, and our sewer line has been forced to be cleaned out a couple times. They may have, put in the cast iron pipes there as well, and they would give a key on that. Just wanted to get that, that's all.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up there. Could you repeat that last line?
I think modernization is a good idea in going forward with these. Like I said, I'm in 35 up at the across from Dedido, down down the street from the public health, not in the newer ones, but we've experienced that trouble up there already. I'm not sure how old they are, but it's getting about time. Any modernization would be a good thing. And my camera off because I keep losing the signal.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just asking because I wanted to make sure that as we're doing this, right, and I think Commissioner Zaki said it in a previous meeting that if we're going to do it right, let's do it right, and let's do it, you know, as comprehensively as we can. So if these are coming up and we have the abilities to make these augmentations, thinking about, you know, future movement, then that would be a good consideration. Okay. Any other questions, commissioners? Vice Chair?
I do. So, and maybe this is for Sunny or Philly. Is Genesis going to be able to, I mean, provide the manpower necessary? No labor issues?
No labor.
Okay.
issues. Yeah.
Perfect.
Good question. Thank you. So on that follow-up, Sunny, are we anticipating that all the projects moving forward are going to be a lot more streamlined, and we're not anticipating any more shortages or you know, barring anything that's not out of the ordinary, but moving forward, our projects are going to be more streamlined and on time?
You know, Dr. John, you love to ask loaded questions, Doc, and it's going to take me a while to answer such a question. But if I may, I can add a little bit of foresight. You know, when I first started here at GHURA, renovations averaged, you know, these AMP renovations, AMP rentals, they call them, averaged about 25 to 27,000 per unit. We are now averaging about 35 to 37,000 a unit. So it's going up. Unfortunately, the allotments to GHURA are roughly remaining the same. So we're going to have to do a lot more lot less renovations or less scope renovations. And in addition to that, salaries. You know, the minimum salaries for a carpenter now, as per Davis Bacon, is $15. Where a few months ago, this was in February, where months before February was only $11. So you're talking $4, which about that's an 8,000 a year delta that we all have to incorporate somewhere. So to answer your question, Doc, about things being streamlined, depends on our strategy and what projects to put our monies on. That's it. And, you know, if we had 5 eggs, we wanted to put 5 eggs in the basket. Well, the basket kind of got smaller, and we may have to put only 3 eggs in the basket as compared to 5, or maybe even 2. So that's going to be a decision that will have to include much of the commissioners as well as executive management. So.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, commissioners, any other questions on item number 2? Okay, hearing none. Do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the intent of award for IFB GHURA 04-14-2022 renovation of 6 public housing units to Genesis Tech Corporation in the amount of $223,600 for base bid 1 and base bid 2.
Thank you, Vice Chair, for the motion. Do I have a second?
I will second that motion.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Dina, for the second. Any other further discussion on the issue? All right, hearing none. May I get a vote on the floor? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you very much. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. Okay, thank you very much. On to item number 3 of new business, request to approve change order.
On the item number 3, I defer to Sunny. I believe this item has to be tabled, but I'll have Sunny discuss it.
I just want to show that I'm here. Okay, I'm here.
Table.
Yes,
Ready to
commissioners.
table that?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, commissioners and executive director. I'd like to request to table this discussion for the Inarahan change order, only because we received the documents last Friday, and so it was not enough time to review. We do have the engineers reviewing it right now, just to make sure it is copacetic with our standards. So possibly for the next board meeting, we will make this presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So the item number 3 is tabled for now. Okay, moving on to resolution number FY 2022-010. Madam Director.
Okay. Resolution number FY 2022-010 is a resolution approving the Public Housing Authority's annual plan FY 2023 and Capital Fund Program 5-year action plan for 2022 to 2026. Whereas pursuant to Section 511 of the Quality Housing and Work Responsibility Act, or QHWRA of 1998, the Guam Housing and Urban Renewal Authority is mandated to develop and submit a public housing agency or PHA annual plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. And whereas the PHA annual plan is a comprehensive guide to the authority's policies, programs, operations, and strategies, and progress for meeting local housing needs and goals for implementation for the upcoming fiscal year. And whereas the CFP 5-year action plan describes the capital improvements to be undertaken within the 5-year period. The capital improvements are necessary activities to ensure long-term physical and social viability of the PHA's public housing developments. And whereas the goals and objectives of the PHA annual plan FY 2023 and the Capital Fund Program 5-year action plan 2022-2026 are consistent with Guam's 5-year consolidated plan, which identifies and prioritizes the housing community development needs of Guam. And whereas this plan was prepared in accordance with the PHA plan requirements of 24 CFR Part 903, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of the Guam Housing and Urban Renewal Authority hereby approves the PHA annual plan FY 2023 beginning October 1st, 2022, and the Capital Fund Program 5-year action plan 2022-2026. And if I may, I know that was quite a number of pages that you were asked to review. And I just kind of wanted to go over some of those pretty important parts of the annual PHA plan. And well, first of all, it does say that the purpose of the plan, the 5-year and annual PHA plan, is to provide a ready source for interested parties to locate basic PHA policies, rules, and requirements concerning the PHA's operations, programs, and services, and informs HUD, families served by the PHA, and members of the public of the PHA's mission, goals, and objectives for serving the needs of low-income, very low-income, and extremely low-income families. And this report is required of our PHA because GHURA is identified as a standard performer, and standard performer PHAs must complete this form 575-ST annually. And on page 10 of it, I do have to note that there were public comment periods for both the CFP 5-year action plan and the FY 2023 PHA plan. And I believe they both went through the public comment periods without anyone really commenting on either one of them. And I think if you take a look at the plan, the main elements to think about were, okay, were there any revisions to the plan? And that's indicated on page 10 and page 11 under the yes column. It indicates what the revisions were. And I believe the revisions under page 11 were mainly revisions to deconcentration and other policies that govern eligibility, selection and admissions, rent determination, operation and management, grievance procedures, and pet policy. So those were the revisions that were made by the PHA. That there were no new activities for FY 2023 is where you would find that information on pages 12 and 13. And page 15 would really point you to the progress report in meeting the mission and goals in the PHA 5-year and the annual plan. And then of course, there were tables that were provided on the occupancy levels and on page 18. And I just wanted to make sure that you do note that it says occupancy levels for HCD section 8, public housing and GT. And it says as of 4/30/2021, but that was a typo. It's really supposed to say as of 4/30/2022. That's the current information. And I believe that typo is on page 17. Yes, the very last paragraph under occupancy levels. It does say that the status was as of April 30th, 2021, but it really is supposed to say April 30th, 2022. But I think the tables give you a pretty good idea of our occupancy levels, our wait list and how many people are on the wait list for section 8, public housing, Goma Tranquilidad, and also gives you information on wait list by the bedroom size for all the public housing sites from AMPS 1 through 4. If you have any questions on anything that you may have reviewed, I do have Miss Philly on standby, and she may be able to answer any questions you have. I know it was a lot to absorb.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, this seems like a pretty templated document though. Is that correct? Because I've never seen one of these before, but just looking at it, it seems like this is a pretty templated document. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. The PHA plan is basically a template where we just throw in all the information regarding our activities for the past year and any proposed activities in the upcoming year. The capital fund program, that is also a template where we enter into the EPIC system, the proposed activities that we would like to see in the next 5 years. As Commissioner Corpus had mentioned that he would like to see some of these things happen at GHURA 35. These are activities that we're looking at, as you would see a number of mod unit renovation that will be taking place every year for all four AMPs. So basically it's proposed projects that we're looking at. If you notice, the grant amount has increased. We received another $600,000. And we need to be very aggressive. The 2021 grant that we received last year, $2.5 million, has a obligation deadline of
Excuse me, Phyllis. Excuse me, can I interrupt real quick?
November 2021. I'm sorry?
Can I interrupt, Ms. Phyllis? With a question? Uh-oh. we
I'm
frozen.
sorry?
I'd like to interrupt with a question because I can't follow you. I don't know what page you're referencing and you're coming up with all these numbers. Can you just back to a specific page? The amounts, please.
I'm not talking about a specific page. I was talking about it in general.
Okay. Thank you. So Phyllis, maybe if I may, can we go to page 31 of 125? And that's where you have the original 5-year plan marked, right? And that's where you have the different amounts. So
Yes.
is it fair to say that on these years, like for example, GHURA 250 in year 1, 2022 of 782,000, right? That means, why is that amount so much higher than year 2?
That depends on the projects that's being planned for that year. So
Okay.
basically the 782,000 is the number of projects that we have planned. She
Okay.
wanted a drainage correction, so that would be an increase on her amount.
Okay, and so that's reflected in the following pages, right?
Yes.
Okay. Got it. So this is a 5-year action plan, and I seem to recall that we've seen, or I've seen this document before. Do we come back to it every year, or we're not going to see this until year 5, unless we revise it, correct?
You will see this plan every year because it is a rolling plan. So
Okay.
whatever is showing on 2022 will become, for next year, it'll not be there, but it may be carried forward in next year. In 2023, the projects may show up again because
Okay.
we did not take care of it in 2022.
And then we'll see 2027. Got it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I know I've seen this before. So how do we do for last year? 2021.
We took care of at least 3 projects, basically the site lighting at our elderly developments.
Right.
We are currently working on the basketball court as well as a drainage correction. So those are current projects that have yet to be awarded.
Okay, but we're still in line with the plan that was approved last year for 2021, correct?
Yes, we are. Yes,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
Got it.
Quick question, right? And a follow-up to Vice Chair's question, right? So on the previous year, and maybe just I know that we've had pandemic-related issues, but on average, right? Because this is the first time I'm seeing a document like this, understanding that it is rolling. On average, how and I understand it's also a plan, but how well are we able to meet the plan just based on your historical knowledge, right? When we plan these things out and we put it out there, how well are we able to do and meet the expectations of what we set forth?
If we are looking at the first year plan, I would basically say that we met it 75% of the time. There's a word called funge or fungibility, where we take one project in year 5, for example, and move it over to year 1 because of the urgency or of the need. So do we follow the first year? 75% of the time. But as long as the project is listed within the 5 years, we can move the projects back and forth.
So Phyllis, this is Monica. We are not able to address any other projects that are not listed in this plan, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Unless it's emergency, correct?
Unless it's an emergency and I get it goes out before public hearing, public comment, and has approval.
Okay. So what you did say though is just so long as the project is within this plan, it can be moved around in the various years, provided there's funding in that year. And any new projects will have to be, that's not listed in this plan, needs to go through the process of hearings and HUD approval, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
So having said that, is there anything that's not on this plan that is that people were thinking about, or that may have been a potential that is not included here at all?
I have one, which is the water blasting and roof coating project. At the public hearing, I had one of the property site managers request to put that in. And so I had requested HUD if they could reject the plan so that I could add it in and then move forward in sending it back to HUD. So that was one project that was not listed there, and it will be now listed in the revised plan.
When do we anticipate that revised plan?
It's already in the process going to HUD. HUD had rejected the plan that was previously submitted because I had requested that could be added. And so he rejected the plan in order for me to add it. So that was the only thing that was added was because of at the public hearing, the property site manager had requested if that could be inserted as a proposed project in the next 5 years.
So what is this plan then?
The 5-year plan.
This plan it's still the same. The only project that was added was just the water blasting / roof coating. So the plan that you have before you is correct. It was just one added project.
That's in here already. Water blasting is included in this plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. This one, water blasting.
Roof coating?
All right. So this is the updated plan, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So should it say revised 5-year plan or original 5-year plan? On page 30.
Original 5-year plan. This is the original. HUD did, if it was revised, HUD would have already approved it. But because HUD did not approve it, he sent it back saying to add it in, and then he will approve it once I resubmit it.
Got it.
They hate trees. Just kidding.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing no other questions, commissioners may have a motion to approve resolution number FY 2022-010 for the 5-year action plan.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve resolution FY 2022-010.
Thank you, Commissioner Nate.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Corpus.
I'll second that.
Any further? Thank you, Commissioner Corpus, for the second. Any further discussion on the motion on the floor?
I have a
Hearing none,
question.
may-
I have a
Yes,
question,
Vice Chair.
Chairman Rivera.
Sure.
Will we be seeing the revised plan once it gets approval, or is this action today? Are we done with the 5-year plan with today's action?
Philly, would you mind clarifying? Yeah, I will. Yeah, Philly, would you mind clarifying? My understanding is that because of the revision, right, that Philly had asked HUD to reject it, that way it wouldn't be a resubmission, it'd just be an original submission. And so this would, my understanding is that this is the final document that's going to go through as the original. Philly,
Okay.
could you please clarify if that's the case?
Yes, it is. That's the case. And once HUD approves it, it will be posted on our website. And
it.
if you would like, I would give you a courtesy copy.
Thank you.
But just for the sake of clarification, right? Philly, all of the recommendations and all the revisions we were talking about are contained here within this document already.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other discussion
Thank
on this
you.
motion? Thank you. Okay, hearing none, may I call for a vote? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any,
Aye.
thank you. Any opposed? Okay, hearing none. Motion carries. Resolution FY 2022-010 is approved by unanimous decision. Thank you very much, commissioners. Moving on to item number 5 of old business. Item number 1, change order for the Women's Treatment Center. Madam Director.
If I may, Chairman, I will defer to Sunny Paris to discuss the change order request in old business.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Good afternoon, commissioners, Mr. Chair, and Madam Director. First, let me pull up the PowerPoint presentation for you. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
It's not the same perspectives.
No, just on the first glance, right?
I see the pour. The fund. No, can we borrow the cement? Okay, good. Are we frozen? No.
I'm trying to put it on PowerPoint, sir. Trying to share the PowerPoint.
I see progress. Oh, you're doing timelines. You're doing timelines.
Yes, sir. No, ma'am, it's not sure.
This is reality. These change orders are gonna happen. Man,
Looking at the
I'm looking at this. This one.
the Excel.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Hurry up, get it done. Let's get it done before-
Okay, good afternoon once again. Instead of me just talking about the change order itself, I'd like to also include the narrative. So that way you have context to the change orders and it'll be a lot easier to absorb the amounts as well as the material. So next slide, please, Madam Deputy. Yeah. The presentation includes actually only 2 change orders, not the Inter-Rahan basketball court. And I did want to make mention about a potential discussion item in the next board meeting, which is a procurement strategy that I'd like to just do a little preview. Next slide, please. Okay. Just a few progress pictures for the Women's Treatment Center. As you can see, this is where they're about to pour, not the foundation, but just the walls on the side. And as you can see, there's on the right-hand slide, this is the existing building and the new building that's coming up. This was just a progress picture for April 8th, 2022. Next slide, please. Okay, so a month later, you have concrete that got poured around to show the top, just to show almost the foundation. You can see the building outline. I'm sorry, you can see pretty much the building outline and the rebars that are coming up in preparation for the foundation pour. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, and this picture was, I apologize, this should have been a June 2nd picture, but nonetheless, okay, this is again a progress shot for the site. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, just a quick update. Inland Builders is expecting 12 H2B workers to be arriving sometime in late July and early August to help push and move the project along. Now, they're anticipating substantial completion by January 2023. Now, you probably read in the media or in the newspaper that a quote for March of 2023, which would be substantial completion. Inland Builders did make that request to me, but for now, I'm not holding them. I'm not affording them that chance because I want to maintain my leverage and to push them for their original January 2023 schedule. Okay, when their people come in, I expect them to catch up. Otherwise, we will impose liquidated damages or whatever mechanisms we have to make them finish this project. I just don't want to say, hey, okay, fine, make another request. Okay, we'll get it. Oh, another request. Okay, next thing you know, it's going to be 2025. So no, we're going to keep it. We're going to keep what they asked the first time to them. Yeah. Okay. There could be an issue for structural steel. So there could be a change order coming up for structural steel because of the nearby issues we have with Ukraine, China, et cetera, et cetera. So possibly they mentioned that to me, but it's a possibility. Okay.
Sonny,
Yes, sir.
is there a Buy America on this project? Are we?
Yeah, I've told people yes and no.
Okay.
It depends on the material,
Okay.
not full on
Okay,
Buy America. Yeah, structural steel, yes,
okay,
yes. Some of the others may not.
okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, as you can see, I've condensed all the change order material into a quick worksheet up here. As you can see, for the division in categories, the mechanical and the electrical changes, okay, have only increased about 17 to 23%. So I'm attributing this as a material cost increase. You know, over the span of a year and a half, materials have gone up. And so that's quite an acceptable amount. 17, 23% for material increase. I recommend, I find that okay. Okay, for the site increase, I have another slide. Yeah, notice that it is a 40% increase. The next slide shows, next slide, please. Okay. Let me put a little placement here. The existing building is to your left. This is where the existing Salvation Army building is at, and how it's placed, how the new building will be placed is what you see in the picture. Now, the site improvements required us to put in a new waistline. Okay, and right now the waistline runs because of the new building. There was a requirement for an additional waistline to run to the back side of the facility. Now you'll find that the site itself is very flat. And so for them to just put a waistline without raising the elevation, you'd overflow, you'd flood, your docking would just kind of stay there, right?
Stagnant.
Yeah, it would stagnate. Yes,
So
sir.
the topography called for it to change.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And so we needed to raise the topography of the site so that it would flow. Okay, that the waistline would flow. And so what you see is this waistline in red, that's a new installation. And there's some additional, of course, dirt that needed to be put in. And that's why you have a 43% cost increase there. Yeah, because that's not only material, it's also labor and availability. And compliance. Yes, sir. That's good. Okay, so that is the change order for the Women's Treatment Center of $217,660. And I'm open for questions.
If I may, thank you for that, Sunny. Whatever funds discussions we do have today, if they are passed, we have not yet gotten the approval for the reprogramming of funds from HUD. So we should make sure that we indicate that the actions taken are going to be qualified as subject to the approval of reprogramming requests by HUD.
Any questions?
So Sonny,
Yes, sir.
so did you prep the change order yet?
No, unfortunately.
So we're still in
Yeah,
kind
it's
of planning.
the numbers there are set.
Okay.
So you can approve the change order in concept, the number will not change.
It's grandfathered in.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Any other questions?
I'm good. I mean, it's reality setting in. These are not going to go down. I think we better get it done before it goes up some more, right?
Sure.
So I'm good.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I like that you're
Hearing
holding
no,
We have to know.
much needed facility.
right. This is an important one for sure. Okay. Hearing no other discussion, may have a motion on the floor to approve change order for Women's Treatment Center, subject to the availability of funds.
I will make a motion to approve change order number 1 to GHURA 09262019 for the Lighthouse Recovery Center for Women in Teason. The total change order request for the 3 divisions and OHP is $217,660.
And subject to the availability of funds.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Commissioner Delia. We have a motion on the floor. May I get a second?
I seconded.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Ishizaki. May I call for discussion? Any further discussion on the motion on the floor? Okay, hearing none, may I call for the vote then? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the motion for change order for the Women's Treatment Center as stated by Commissioner Delia, subject to the approval of fundings, has passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Sunny, I guess it's over to you for change order number 2, Sinahani Arts Center.
Right. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Slide, please. Okay, just a few progress pictures for the Sinahani Arts Center. On April 2nd, this is kind of what the site looked like, as well as the interior. And as we keep moving along, next slide, please. It starts to take shape, take form. And by yesterday, next slide, please. We have an almost completed facility with sans the walkway. Okay, almost completed facility sans the walkway. The air conditioning has been installed. The water and the power are also connected. And so you have almost a fully functioning facility. And so just as a quick update, next slide, please. Okay, Mega United has received the approved occupancy permit.
Nice.
So yes, the facility can be used. The original walkway will be installed. And so I will come back to you for another contract extension for that one. Right now, we're negotiating. I shouldn't even say negotiating with the contract. We're going to tell them to install that walkway, okay, at the price that they had originally submitted. Okay, Mayor Hoffman will locate funding for the second part of the walkway, the additional walkway, and we're anticipating substantial completion for the interior work sometime mid to late this month.
Wow.
This month, yes, sir, this month. So right now, the engineers and my staff are doing the punch list and also further inspection so we can close this project. Sans the walkway.
When's the ribbon cutting?
That will be your decision.
It looks rich, Mike.
Wow.
Congratulations on the profession.
Oh, yeah, it was a little struggle here and there, so
That's true.
yeah.
So,
But that's just not me, it's my staff.
collectively.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, next slide, please. And so with that, I'd like to present to you the change orders. The first one for Mayor Hoffman's request. And in his request, this includes the recommendations for interior works. This is the $61,940 one. And it is, quote, to help the community center arts hall to prepare, plan, and prevent for this and future pandemics, air conditioners, HEPA filters, UV light sanitizers, air quality purifiers, extending, expanding walkways to better accommodate social distancing, spacing as the public enters and exits the building, and changing floor surfaces to make it easier to clean and sanitize. Okay, that is from the mayor, and that is the $61,940. The second one is for a crane. Now, again, this is my fault and my forgetfulness, you might say. This change order had already been executed sometime in November. And in a nutshell, what had happened was this: the old crane schedule was set for November, but because COVID happened, the crane owner did not want to honor that schedule anymore along with the price. And so Mr. Zhang had to pick up a new crane. Okay, a new crane, a new owner, and a new schedule. Otherwise, the old crane owner said, well, you can't use the crane until 3 or 4 months later. And that would have delayed our project 3 to 4 months. We wouldn't be doing this possible ribbon cutting until December because they needed a crane to put the big double T's on top of the roof. And so I said, fine, find us a crane. I'll take the hit on the schedule. Don't worry about it. I'm sorry, on the change order, don't worry about it. Just move ahead so that we can close this project in a decent schedule. Okay, and so that is the 12,000. And also you can see that the changes between the two crane prices are about it's $12,000. So the total change order comes out to $74,365.
Who would be the new crane promoter?
Oh, no, not a problem. Smithbridge. Yes. I got that.
Yeah.
Just in case. And so that is my. Yes,
Sorry.
Madam.
Thank you for that, Sunny. And if I may, to the board, this as well is subject to the approval for the reprogramming of funds, the request that we're making to HUD. So it's subject to the availability of funds. Okay, we just have to include that in your approval of this change order.
Commissioners, any questions?
Yeah, Sunny, so everything in this change order, I mean, this amount of 74,000 does not include the second awning or,
No, ma'am.
right?
Does not.
And that's gonna be separate. The mayor's gonna find separate funding for it,
Yes.
but it will require us to extend the contract.
Well, yes and no.
Okay,
I say it may not require us to extend the contract because it's such a large amount. We may have to go out on a separate bid. So it may not go to Mega United.
okay, got it.
They're gonna also have to bid for that.
Okay,
for that job.
got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion to approve this change order for the Sinahania Community Arts Center in the amount of $74,365?
Sure you can. Thank you, Vice Chair, for the motion on the floor. May I get a second?
I shall second that motion.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Delia, for the second.
Board member,
Any,
excuse me. I'm sorry, this is Kathy.
Oh,
Please
subject
repeat.
to the approval of, I'd like to amend that motion, subject to the approval of funds, availability of funds.
that's right. Thank you for the amended motion. Thank you, Kathy, for catching that. Commissioner Delia, you gonna second that amended motion?
Yes, I will second that amended motion.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further discussion on the Sinahania Arts Center? Okay, hearing none. May I call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries for the change order for the Sinahania Arts Center, subject to the availability of funds. Thank you very much. And then we already did item number 6, which we moved up earlier, and now we are at item number 7 for general discussion and announcements.
Dr. John, I wanted to add one more slide, just as a
Sure.
preview for what to discuss on the next board meeting, please. Okay, next
Sure.
slide, please. Okay, again, I think it was what's that word? Amongst the commissioners as well as the executive director, that, you know, some decisions have to be made right away. Otherwise, we're gonna have our prices go up. And I wanted to just show you what Commissioner Shizaki had a sentiment that, yeah, things are going up and it's not going away. Wanted to show you that, you know, GCC had a recent construction bid for their building B construction. Just recent, April 2022, it was just an 8,000 square foot facility. 2 bidders responded. The lowest one for this bid was at 5.3 million. The highest one was at 6.7. Now, mind you, $663 a square foot for commercial is unheard of. That's crazy price right now compared to what we're doing now, what we're getting for the Women's Treatment Center at $340 a square foot, and even something to the effect of $250 a square foot over at the Arts Center. And so, you know, my point is that, and you can see it up there, I'm not going to read it to you, that the material prices are just going up by the week. Okay? And oftentimes if we wait, especially when we have to wait for permits to be approved or for just decisions to be made, don't be surprised that that you're going to keep seeing me because material prices have gone up again and again and again. You know, my brother-in-law is a manager for 2 of the 76 stations. And he said last night to me, he said, Sonny, we're preparing for double digits. Our pumps are getting ready for double digit gas prices. So it's not going away. And so one of what I'd like to propose, you know, procurement strategy for GHURA, just so that we can catch these prices, right at the onset of the award versus having to wait for permits versus having to wait for things where it's not even months anymore. It comes down to weeks, where contractors can't even pre-order or prepay for their orders because the suppliers are unable to commit to a price. They're fearful that tomorrow it'll just go up again and they'll be the ones to be to lose out their funds. Yeah, so anyways, I'd like to propose a strategy for this, and that'll be in the upcoming board meeting. So not to go over it with you right now.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Sunny. And thank you for considering, right, future thinking and some strategic plans in the future. I look forward to seeing that. Okay, let's move on to item number 7. We're close to the end. General discussion and announcements. The award of FSS certificate of completion. Madam Director, is that you?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I was hoping that our FSS is Family Self-Sufficiency Coordinators would be on this. But I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that our Carl Corpus, who is a resident at one of our public housing sites, he was awarded a certificate, or we're awarding him a certificate of completion. And I'll read it to you, okay? This certificate is hereby awarded to Carl Corpus in recognition of successfully completing your family self-sufficiency program contract of participation presented on, and it was supposed to be on the 20th day of May 2022. But this is a program that he has to commit to for 5 years, correct, Carl? And he got a pretty good award. He got a pretty good award for committing to it. Carl, can you share what it took for you to go through this family self-sufficiency program, please?
Yes, I can. It first started with the lack of transportation and me going through the program underneath actually another program there. It was called the Runners One-on-One. There was a lot of different classes to be taken, but after sticking it out, I was finally able to. The main goal was to secure a new vehicle. Actually, I did that times 3. I have 3 new vehicles now. So they're not new vehicles, they're newly used vehicles, I would say. But along with the help of the FSS program and planning and saving, we were able to do that. I'm very happy with that.
Thank you, Carl. So it really takes a lot for families to participate and commit to the 5 years of this program, and they do get awarded a really nice check at the end of it. You know, so congratulations to our Carl Corpus for completing his 5-year program.
That's great, Carl. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good, good. It seems to be
all.
a good thing for your family with your kids running the drill team competition, and it's just great time for the Corpus family.
Absolutely, right. And I think it's important.
You got that right. And I have to just add that I'm not proud to be living in housing, but I'm not too proud to accept the help. And it really does help. Puts us on the right path to being self-sufficient. You also go from me, of course, to get land and eventually a house. That's a long-term plan, but it's achievable with the right attitude, I think.
Absolutely, right. And congratulations, Commissioner Corpus, right. And I think also, you know, for the record, I think congratulations, as Vice Chair said, is in order for your whole family, right? She was talking about your kids, right? You shared with us that your kids had won some awards and went to some competitions, and you know, so all of that is great, right? And she's right. This is a great time for the Corpus family, and I think that you know, your sentiment about taking advantage of the opportunities before you, so that your family can be in a better position is well taken, right? So congratulations for your commitment, and thank you for your commitment, and please extend, you know, our deepest congratulations also from the board officially, right, to your family and to your children for all the wonderful things that they're doing, right? And hopefully others will see that and also model that and know that they too can always take advantage of opportunities to contribute back, right? So congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Is there any other announcements that the board has before we move to the proposed board meeting?
Mr. Chair, I have one request.
Sure.
We had a great briefing from HUD last week, for ethics and programs, but we were also made aware of their concerns regarding our program or our programs. So I'd like to request a report from our executive director, maybe for the next meeting.
Right. Absolutely. Right. And thank you for that. If on that note, right, I want to concur that we had a great meeting. I also want to put on the record, officially thank Ryan, Laura, Jelani, Jesse, Mark, and Rebecca, right, and all the other folks at HUD for putting the training on, and Deputy Director for arranging all of that, right, and putting us there. And as you mentioned, Commissioner Shizaki, right, Director Liz, if there were some things that were raised, right, and some, I know that you were also mentioning that there are some forthcoming updates because of some meetings that may be happening in the near future. But if you could, maybe a report on some of those items, and maybe some updates on how those items are being addressed moving forward for the next meeting. We put that on the agenda.
So I have a series of meetings this week. So most of the issues actually had to do with our community development programs. And I am meeting with the team, community development, and the A&E team and our fiscal team, because we have some workout plan and some reporting to present to the governor. And we had a meeting scheduled for this Friday. And I believe it had to be pushed back. However, I will share information as soon as I have the reports completed by our community development and A&E in coordination with the A&E folks. You will get a report and an update on what those issues were and what's being done to resolve them for HUD.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Commissioners, anything else? Okay, hearing none. Just one other note, right? I'd like to just put as an announcement. I know that the GHURA team is working with GCC in partnership with GCC to work on some boot camps. GCC has boot camp programs for workforce development. And I think a great partnership and a great innovation that's happening is that GCC is willing to, and they've been very responsive to try to work with our GHURA team to bring some of that into the AMPs. So rather than people coming out, right, they're going straight into GHURA housing and the AMPs to kind of work on workforce development boot camps and assist on the ground level, right? And I think some of the interesting partnerships also is that not only is this taking care of transportation issues, but there's also some neat programs going on with regard to babysitting. And so they're going to be providing babysitting services on the ground so that people can attend some of these workshops and boot camps, right, to help with workforce development. So I want to thank the director and the team, right, for their work in partnership with GCC and making that happen. Other than that, if there's no other announcements, next proposed board meeting is Friday, June 24th, 2022 at 12 p.m. Please mark your calendars. Other than that, if there's no other discussion, may I get a motion to adjourn?
Nobody wants to. We want to be here all day.
Nobody wants to adjourn?
All day.
I will make a motion.
Okay. Okay, I think we got Commissioner Delia with the motion, and then everybody else in the boardroom was shaking their head. I saw that. All right. Okay, we'll call this meeting at 2:11 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes.
Have a wonderful week,
Bye.
everybody.
Safe.
So I couldn't attend
Well, they, it was.
Friday. It was audit stuff.
The
No,
first
no,
day
no.
was the ethics.
No, program.
Yeah, I attended Thursday. I
But
wasn't
the
able.
Friday one was more of.
They had,
Super
that
comprehensive.
last piece was